They say the world is big, but for me, it always ended in one room. A cracked ceiling, a broken window, silence so thick it whispered louder than words. I was 5 when the world stopped moving. My father, still alive back then, would hold my hand and tell me stories under the dim yellow bulb. I never understood the words, but I clung to the warmth in his voice. It was the only thing that felt real. Then, one day, he didn't wake up. The story stopped. The world went quiet, and I was left with my mother who barely noticed I existed. She moved through days like a shadow, chasing another shadow there, but never really present. Food was rare, kindness even rarer. Sometimes, I'd sit in the corner of that room and talk to the wall, pretending it was my father. And sometimes, the wall talked back. It whispered things I didn't understand. Not in words, but in feelings. Cold, abandonment, emptiness. The room changed after that. Each night, it felt smaller. The furniture creaked, even when I didn't move. My own breath echoed like a stranger's, and I began to wonder, what if I never left that room? The room began to breathe, not like lungs. More like it pulsed, slowly, walls expanding, then contracting as if the house itself remembered pain. I started seeing reflections in places that shouldn't reflect anything. The surface of the wall shimmered like water, and inside it, I saw him, my father. He didn't speak. He just stared at me, hand pressed against the other side, like he was trapped, or maybe I was. Every time I blinked, he vanished, and the room got colder. My mother, she was there, somewhere, I think. Her voice floated down the hall like a radio, stuck between stations, sometimes laughing, sometimes crying, but never talking to me. I once tried to step out, just once. I opened the front door, and behind it was the same room, same cracks, same window, same chair. Except the version of me sitting in it had older eyes, tired eyes. I backed away. I didn't know what scared me more, the fact that I was still in the room, or that maybe I had never left it in the first place. That night, the walls whispered louder. They said my name, but not the one my parents gave me. It was a name I had never heard before, yet somehow, it felt like mine. I tried to count the days, but the sun never rose the same way twice. Sometimes, it blinked like a dying bulb. Other times, it just hovered silent and read like an eye that refused to close. Time broke inside that room. Clocks melted. Shadows moved without light. I found a calendar once, nailed behind the old curtain. Every date said the same thing, still here. And then, the mirror cracked. Not from the outside, but from within. A version of me stepped out, not older, not younger, just wrong. He looked like me, but he smiled too wide, blinked too slowly. He whispered things I never said. I remember when we were forgotten, he told me. I remember when we died but no one noticed. I screamed at him to leave. He didn't. Instead, he reached into my chest. Not to hurt me, but to hand me something, a photograph of me and my father. But in the photo, my father had no face, just an empty blur, like the world had decided he was never real to begin with. I dropped it, but the photo was still in my hand. Every time I let go, it came back, every single time. I stopped asking what was real, because every time I did, the room changed its answer. One night, the floor turned into water, but I didn't drown. I sank slowly, like it wanted me to see something buried beneath. I found toys, tiny ones, familiar, mine, and bones. Small, like a child's, tied together with red string. They were shaped like a family, 3 little skeletons, one lying down, one facing the corner, and one holding something. A photograph. The same photo. I screamed underwater, but no bubbles came out, just silence. I clawed my way back up, gasping for air. But when I opened my eyes, I was not alone anymore. They were sitting there, my mother, my father, and the boy who looked like me, all smiling, all motionless. Their mouths opened at once, and in one voice, they said, "You were never meant to leave. You're the ghost." I ran to the door, opened it, and behind it, the same room, but this time, the walls were covered in names. Hundreds, maybe thousands. One of them was mine, scratched over and over, like someone tried to remember me and failed. I stopped running. There was nowhere left to go. Every door led back to the same place. Every window showed a memory that never happened. I sat in the middle of the room, hugging my knees, and the room, it hugged me back. Its walls closed in, not crushing me, but holding me, like a mother finally noticing her child, like the silence had finally decided to listen. And in that quiet, I heard a voice, not from outside, but from inside me. It whispered, "You were never forgotten. You just disappeared too early to be remembered." The photo was in my lap again, but this time, I wasn't in it. Only my parents, smiling, happy, like they had never lost anything, like I was the one who never existed. I looked around the room one last time. Every object, every shadow, every sound, all of it was me. The room wasn't a place, it was a grave, and I was buried inside it, long before my body ever stopped breathing. You've just heard the room where the world ends. But now, let me ask you this. If your entire life could vanish without anyone noticing, did you ever really exist at all?